Yeah, so I got 3 titles, and it doesn't really mean anything.
That makes it very easy to introduce our guest because he is literally the president of Restoration Action. His name is Doug Truax. He's a 44-year-old West Point graduate, Army veteran, healthcare reform expert. He owns a healthcare consulting business here in Illinois, works and lives in suburban Chicago, and was a candidate for the U.S. Senate in the Illinois GOP primary in 2014. He ran against Jim Oberweis, if you remember, and raised a lot of money, got some endorsements like former Speaker Newt Gingrich, Congressman Aaron Schock, even the endorsement of the Chicago Tribune. He was not successful in that race, but did pretty well, got 44% of the statewide vote, and he joins us this morning. Mr. Truax, how are you? Good to see you again.
Hey, I'm great, Brian. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All right, what's the deal? What's this PAC, and what's it all mean?
Well, I just had an opportunity after the primary to, help some candidates and kind of work through the general and further clarify what I believed was the right direction for the country, and got to place past the general and said, well, what's on the horizon for our country, and where do we want to take it? Had some more opportunity to kind of crystallize and clarify what I thought would be the right thing for the country and boil it down to an agenda. We call it the Blueprint for the Restoration of America. And so going forward then, it's an organization designed to advance these policy ideas. And then also we're going to index federal politicians and federal candidates. And to the degree they match up with the policy agenda or they don't, we're going to work for them or against them in campaigns and shape the direction of the country that way. So that's what I'm up to. Still running the business. I was listening to Ken talk about all his business cards. I got a few myself too, so I run around a little bit, do different things. But a huge part of what I'm doing now is this political focus on this PAC, this 501c4, and this federal super PAC.
All right, we'll get to the individual efforts of what you want to restore. But what's the end game for you? You were an attractive candidate to a lot of folks in the GOP, and Jim Oberweis, kind of the uber, always candidate, ended up winning and then got shellacked in the general election. Are you building up to run against Mark Kirk?
I get asked that a lot, and no, that's not my intention. This is about the policy that I'm going to advance as far as what we want to do for the country, and I will, to the degree that Senator Kirk is for or against some of these things that I think are best for the country and best for the people. I'll be for or against him, and so I'm not planning on running against him, but I definitely want to focus on this policy agenda that we've come up with and see where everybody shakes out. All
right, let's talk about the economy. You want to reduce every federal tax by 25%.
Right. So so how do you get to an economic boom? We're at a place now, and by the way, let me just preface this with the bigger picture here. So, conservatives, Republicans are going to keep the House. We've already got the Senate. We got to hold on to it. If we have a conservative president, then 2017 and 2018 is going to be the greatest window of opportunity for conservatism in probably a generation. And so what do we need to be focused on? So that's where I'm pushing, getting conservative politicians to recognize where we are and get them to move further right. And one of those things is, how do we get to an economic boom? So we're not anywhere, we're muddling along here. And the business community is finally adjusting to the fact that the Obama damage is relatively over at this point. So how do we now get to, flip the switch and get to the tipping point? And I think if you reduce all federal tax by 25%, trim down all the deductions, really streamline the tax code, the only deductions left would be charitable mortgage and medical insurance, and then allow corporations that are hiding profits overseas, much to the detriment of American workers, and it's no fault of the corporations, they're just playing by the rules, give them an opportunity to bring that money back. I think we do those things and coupled with some trimming back of federal regulations in a significant way, I think that sets the stage for an economic boom and getting more money in people's pockets and going in the direction that we want to in this country.
All right, you talk about, go back to the specifics there, bringing those profits back here. That would involve some sort of cap on taxes, international profits based on, what we tax here. I mean, how would you actually get them to bring that money back to the shores of the United States?
Right. So if we reduce corporate tax by 25%, it drops to 26.3. I think that's the right number, but it's right in that ballpark. But let's just say a company is making profits in a country and the profits are getting taxed on over there. It's at 20%. Okay. Well, they bring that money back here. They're only going to pay 6.3% because they've already paid 20% someplace else.
Okay.
So we don't need to, it's just double taxation all the way around, and it keeps money out of the economic system that we need to bring back.
All right. Reducing the size of government and reducing the debt. What are your talking points on getting those two things done?
Well, I watched, one of the things I talked about during the campaign is we were in this place in this country where we had such an economic downturn that, at every kitchen table and every business, and I run my own business too, we trimmed back. And you had to in a recession, but the federal government kept growing, and so now it's their turn, right, to say we're going to trim you back significantly, and just like we're going to reduce taxes by 25%, let's reduce the size of the federal government by 25% over 4 years. So that's 6.25% a year, and that's every non-security budget. So you have security budgets and non-security budgets. So security budgets are defense, homeland security, things like that. State Department would fall in that category, but all the other cabinet positions and departments are non-security, and they need to be reduced by 25% and hold the security where they are as a percentage of GDP prior to the sequestration. That would then level the playing field in the federal government, reduce the size of the government, get the money that we're spending on the federal government down to then match tax receipts and reduce the budget deficit and the overall debt over time.
All right, we've only got a couple of seconds left. I know you write about restoring individual peace and international security. We're living in a very big, bad world right now where we don't even seem in this country to be able to even label it what it is. Mm-hmm. How do we do that?
Well, if you have a problem, you got to identify the problem, and Islamic terrorism is our problem. And by my way of thinking, there's only one way to get the problem of Islamic terrorism solved in less than a generation and more like in a decade. And that is you have to secure the cooperation of every government in the world. And they don't have to come out and say they're cooperating with us, but they have to understand that if we get attacked, then we're going to find out who did it, and we're going to find out the governments that were supporting them or aiding them, and then we're going to seek to destroy that government. Not the people of that country, but that government, and replace them using as few U.S. assets as possible. So once that message goes out, then you secure the cooperation of every government around the world. The terrorists now have no place to train, to hide, to gain support, whatever, and then we're all on the same page together. And by my way of thinking, that's the only way we're going to get this done. Otherwise, we're just fiddling around the edges of things.
All right. We appreciate you being with us today. RestorationPAC.com. If you want more information, former Senate candidate Doug Truax joining us this morning.